when I went and saw The Brood, I saw The Brood because I recognized the name David Cornwell. Oh, hey, that's the guy from Rabid. Because it was before, when The Brood came out, he still wasn't. They still weren't writing about him in Famous Monsters. They still weren't writing about him in Fangoria yet. I recognized his name from Rabid.
Okay, my next one is one you guys don't think I'm guessing you probably never heard of before. I hadn't heard of it until I went into. I heard about it 10 years ago. I got into a whole big thing about examining the movies of 1970, the year 1970, and I've kind of made it a point to try to watch as many movies from that year as I possibly could, and not just American movies from like all over the world, just to look at cinema at that year. And I discovered a film that I thought was really, really terrific for a lot of different reasons. One's a good movie, but also for a few other aspects of it. But one of the things about that year was that was a year that a lot of directors, a lot of the old world Hollywood directors had made their last movies. And many of them don't work, all right? Whether it's William Wyler's The Liberation of L.B. Jones, which I kind of appreciate. I don't think it really works, but there's a part of it that to me does work. I'll talk about what I can defend about it later. But Liberation of L.B. Jones, George Stevens, the only game in town. But one director is the director Anton Ludwig, who's done all kinds of movies. He did Confessions of a Nazi Spy with Edward G. Robinson. He did the original Mayerling with Charles Boyer in France. He directed for I think he did Anastasia. He directed for years and years and years and years and years. His last movie is a British thriller based on a French novel with one of the best titles of all time. The title is called A Girl in a Car with Glasses and a Gun. It sounds like a Claude Lelouch movie. It sounds like a movie that would be on the marquee of a theater in a Claude Lelouch movie.
I love that.
And it stars Samantha Eggar and Oliver Reed.
Oh, okay.
And it's a story about Samantha Eggar is Oliver Reed's secretary, and I believe it's the kind of story I want to play down the plot synopsis a little bit, because part of it is kind of watching it unfold. But the idea is that she's Oliver Reed's secretary, and her job is to I think drive his car from one area of France to another. And in the course of her trip, she just decides to, kind of go on a little existential journey of her own, because she has the weekend. She decides, as opposed to doing what she's supposed to do by just dropping the car off, she just decides to take a road trip, during the weekend. And that leads to a really mysterious situation. She meets this kind of weird guy on the road, and he seems kind of shady, and it just it becomes this kind of weird genre thing. Now, what's interesting, and it's a mystery, and then finally it's all eventually revealed later in one of those really kind of cool where the character now tells you everything that you've watched, and now you see the entire movie again from this different perspective that explains everything that's happened up until this point in time. But it's very much playing with genre. I mean, even the title makes that clear. A girl in a car with glasses and a gun. These are the elements in the movie that they're dealing with. Now, in the book, it's obviously almost kind of meant to be a meta reference to kind of Pulp Fiction kind of a Pulp Fiction kind of paperback kind of idea, kind of like, it knows it's a Pulp Fiction paperback, and it's kind of playing with that idea. But what's really, really interesting, especially compared to how completely, how obvious a lot of these, I mean, especially Anton Ludwig, who was making movies in the 30s, how out of touch a lot of these directors seem by that time. You have to remember, A Girl in a Car with Glasses and a Gun came out the same year as Bird with the Crystal Plumage.
Yeah.
So that's Dario Argento's first film. And with that film, and the titles almost are, they both have that same kind of ironic, poetic, pulpiness about them. But as we all know, that's the film that officially started the giallo genre. So Argento, a young director, starts the giallo genre with Bird with the Crystal Plumage. A Girl in a Car with Glasses and a Gun is pretty much a giallo. It's like they're very, the plot lines, but they're very similar. They're like, if it came out the next year, it would be considered a giallo. If it was directed by an Italian director, it would absolutely be considered a giallo. So the idea of a young director like Argento starting this new genre, this new type of murder mystery, this new type of horror film, it's all about it's about the newness and the hipness of it all. And then a director who's been making movies since the 30s is making his last movie, and it fits into that progressive kind of thing. There's nothing old about it at all. It's so fresh. It's so much fun. When I did a festival, I did a screening of a bunch of 70s movies, movies from 1970. At a festival called Lyon, which it's run by the people who do the Cannes Film Festival, but it's for classic cinema. And I put on a double feature, A Girl in a Car with Glasses and a Gun and Bird with the Crystal Plumage on the same double feature. And both movies played like gangbusters together. They played great.
Nice.
And I think it's one of the finds of the it was one of the ones I wanted to introduce on this podcast of all of them, because that's the one I think most people don't know about. No, but because now actually Columbia made it. Columbia has a print, but I've never actually. I've always wanted to make a big deal of it, so we've never shown it at the New Bev. But Columbia does have a print. But actually, I'm dealing with Sony right now about re-releasing it on Blu-ray. And they actually did, because it's based on a French novel. They actually did a French remake of it about 6 or 7 years ago.
Crazy.
Which I've never seen.
Wow.
But the Anton Lubick one, and Samantha Eggar is terrific in it. Oliver Reed is wonderful as per usual. It's a real find. It's a real find. I'm talking about starting kind of inspired a little bit by like the Twilight Time Blu-rays. I'm talking with Sony about coming out with a Blu-ray line.
Whoa!
All right.
Nice.
Some of their from their catalog, and one of the ones we want to start off our run with is A Lady in a Car with Glasses and a Gun. I think it would be called Tarantino Archives.
Love it. Love it.
Oh God, I hadn't even. I hadn't thought that. Yeah, but when they did The Brood, that there was like a reunion.
A Mexican/American/international production, but basically made out of Mexico. A horror film called Demonoid. Directed by Alfredo Zachariah, who, like Rene Cardona Jr., has directed a whole lot of Mexican horror films and exploitation movies that have actually made their way to these shores. And he also directed a Swarm ripoff called The Bees.
Yeah.
He directed an interesting Mexican Western that got released in America called The Bandits with Robert Conrad and Jan Michael Vincent. I saw Demonoid when it came out theatrically at the Tower Theater in downtown Los Angeles. And I had a blast then, but I like it even more now, frankly, to say. I think I took it a little for granted back then. There's stuff like this playing all the time back then. It was easy to take it for granted. Now I look at something like this and I really, really, really appreciate it. I realize I was jaded back then. I am not jaded anymore.
Yeah.
I have been waiting for the third exploitation movie to beat all the other ones, and this is the show it happened. Demonoid just doesn't stop. It doesn't fucking stop. It doesn't waste a minute. It doesn't waste a frame. Yep. It doesn't waste a scene. And it's not even though it's got a standard story of it's kind of they put them together. It's a crawling hand movie and a demon possession movie, and they kind of put them together, and that follows the structure. And just, okay, well, I guess it's just going to be a crawling hand movie. Okay, I got that. But then in the middle, then they don't change the mythology. The mythology gets deeper. And then all of a sudden now the second half of the movie has, it's not a different story, but it's a more complex story.
Yeah.
And by the way, after watching stuff like The Keep and all the, and The Relic and all the stuff we've watched, to watch a movie with a supernatural reason for why all this is happening, and with a mythology built around it, that one, it answers all of our questions.
Yeah.
We are not asking any dumb questions about what's going on. And once they explain it to it, they live up to it all the way, and you can follow it from the beginning to the end. That kind of clarity after the stuff we've watched is a blessing. The film is sick as fuck. It is nasty. It's dirty. It's got a dirty mind. When I say that, I mean it as a positive.
I know.
It's gruesome. It's got a sense of grotesque. It's got a sense of the perverse.
Yeah.
But the most important thing about it is there's no comedy in it. I mean, there's a little bit of unintentional comedy, but there's no real comedy in it. And that's one of the things that I really like about most Mexican horror films in general. As Jim Shelton says, the Mexicans take their tacky horror seriously. Yeah. I mean, no, and the seriousness of the intention of all the actors, the seriousness of the intention of the director and the scenario was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
And again, it's moving. And then you add on top of that, Samantha Eggar, who is a fantastic actress. And this was during the time that she was doing a lot of exploitation movies, and I've never seen her give a bad performance in an exploitation movie. It can't be emphasized enough
It can't be.
how she classes up the production.
Well,
and it's also just gratifying that she's taking the movie so seriously.
Well,
she makes you take the movie seriously. Now, I like Stuart Whitman, but I remembered him thinking that he was just kind of a worn out performance for him. So I remember I even said that when he came on.
Uh-huh.
I was wrong. He's actually quite good in the movie. Oh, by the way, we have to mention for a second, the guy playing her husband is a character actor you've all seen. If you watch action movies from the 70s, he's in all the Eastwood movies. He's in all the Bronson movies. You know, he's that schlumpy detective in Chinatown that Jack Nicholson beats the shit out of.
Yeah.
He's like, his name is Roy Jensen. Here he's billed as Roy Cameron Jensen. All right. But the thing is, I actually think Roy Jensen and Samantha Eggar made a really cool couple. I like them. No, he gets like 27 snake eyes in a row.
Yeah.
He just goes to Vegas. They don't talk about all the people he murdered when he was in Mexico. No. Yeah, he's like, and it actually doesn't break up. He just kills all the miners and leaves. All right. It's not like they had a marital spat. No. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say, he's so masculine, I bought it.
Well, he is.
There's a masculine quality about it.
He's like
that kind of masculinity can get a Samantha Eggar.
He's like
especially if you own a fucking silver mine. Yeah, okay, but that's the thing about the movie was the fact is I'm watching it with Roger, and then he's like, oh, I lived in Guanajuato, all right? And then it's like, oh, apparently this was in Roger's hometown. And he's like, oh, yeah, well, naturally. Then they go to the museum where they have the Guanajuato mummies. Well, yeah, naturally, of course, the Guanajuato mummies. Right? Everybody knows about the Guanajuato mummies. That's the Roger growing up double feature. Emerald Forest and Demonoid. Also, I have to say, the film has very well done both special effects and gore effects. They don't have a ton of money to pull them off, but they pull them off. I will actually go so far as to say I think this is the best crawling hand I've ever seen in any movie. Everything we're saying is pointing out how clever this movie is. And not only that, one, they're pulling off the crawling hand stuff really terrific. But it's not just that they've come up with just magnificent makeup effects. Some of it is just actually directorial cleverness. The way he shot it. He figured out the exact angle to sell the gag.
Yeah.
And that's directing, man. That's what directing is all about, especially when it comes to horror films, especially when it comes to dealing with fantasy. No, if you look up him, you look up Rene Cardona Jr., you're going to see 80 movies. But I want to see a few more of the ones that actually got released in America. And I think there's about there's at least 4 or something. All right. So it starts off obviously a long time ago. And so this woman you don't quite know she's a woman at first. She's in like these monk robes and she's being chased by these guys and she's got a sword, and becomes very clear that she's got superhuman strength and she's fucking these guys up. And then a bunch of them get on top of her and they pin her against the wall. And as they pin her against the wall, the monk robe opens up and her boobs fall out.
Yeah,
and it's just like
awesome.
it's a great boob shot. I mean, it's just a terrific boob shot.
Yeah.
And then they hold her against the cave wall and they cut her fucking hand off. They cut her fucking hand off. Then they take a knife and they stab the hand. And then they
Before it can climb away.
Yeah. And they stab it before it can climb away. And then they put it in this little hand coffin. And that little hand coffin is the best prop of this entire episode.
Yeah, we actually were saying,
if I could own one prop, all right, for my cinema museum, it would be the
hand
demon.
coffin.
It would be the demonoid hand coffin.
Yeah.
Now, we haven't really described the plot, and media did a very bad job of describing the plot. But I think at this point, we've expressed our enthusiasm enough that if you're still there and we haven't explained the plot, then just watch it. All right. But one of the things that was surprising about the movie, one, it starts off in Mexico. And like you said, not just Mexico, but where's the place again?
Guanajuato.
Okay. Then one of the lead characters goes to Vegas, the Sands Hotel in particular. So now a whole section's happening in Vegas. And then all of a sudden, suddenly we're in Inglewood, California. And then the rest of the movie takes place in Inglewood. Yeah. This movie is fantastic. Guanajuato? The Sands Hotel in 1979?
Yeah.
And Inglewood? I mean, I'm surprised they didn't go to the fucking Forum.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, while we're not going to describe the plot, there's a little bit that's vaguely similar to, to The Hidden or something, about the way things just keep like moving from character to character. But it has its own mythology going on that I don't want to spoil. Well, actually, the original name of the movie was The Devil's Hand. Well, they keep calling it The Devil's Hand throughout the whole thing. You can tell that was supposed to be the title. How great is that moment? But one of the best lines is when the black cop has been possessed by the hand and he wants to cut it off. And he goes to the doctor and he points the gun at the doctor. You cut this fucking thing off. So the guy starts setting up some anesthesia. He goes, no needles, no anesthesia, just cut. And you're like, and I'm like, oh my God. No, she's just in the hospital. She's just in the doctor's just going, yeah, just look at the pieces of wood. It's exploded from the inside.
Yeah,
all right?
she's like,
people didn't break into this. Something broke out. Well, I will admit, she's figuring out everything. She's figuring out the whole, what the hand's motivation is. She's figuring out a simple look at the grave. I mean, she should have her own detective show. She kills it. It's probably only like 4 movies after she did The Brood or something. Yeah, I think the last film she had released theatrically by this point was The Exterminator. I like this one better than The Exterminator. I've seen The Exterminator recently. This delivers more than Exterminator does. Oh, that's one of the things I wanted to add. When we were watching the movie, at a certain point, in the last 30 minutes, right alongside Samantha Eggar, right alongside Stuart Whitman, the hand is a character. I like the hand. Yeah, I like the hand. It's a character. And it even kind of starts coming across as a character at a certain. It actually has a touch of a personality.
Yeah,
that's like a fucking rat.
Sure,
and again, they're not explaining it to us. We're just kind of figuring out the mythology of it. Oh, okay. After it does this, it does that.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I'll add to that though. Okay, not that I have any inside information, but the situation is, for the Mexican film industry, this probably was an expensive movie. One of the things that you'll notice when you see like, especially like Mexican movies or Spanish movies or German movies, they're just released as an exploitation movie out here. If you actually look up Mexico or Spain that year, those actually might have been one of the bigger movies that they made at that during that time. But my point being though is, for a film made for the Mexican film industry, this probably actually had a couple of pesos. If it has a little bit of money, that means they're probably working with the best technicians in Mexico at that point. Yeah. Well, I think Oliver Stone's The Hand came out like the year before. Right. And that's a big budget version of something like that. I mean, but before there was like The Crawling Hand, The Beast with 5 Fingers. It's actually a subgenre unto itself. Yeah. I would say pound for pound, it's the best movie we've talked about. You know what I mean by that? for its fighting weight.
For its
Well, I'm not
movies.
putting it down. I just mean, in
filmmaker.
its weight class, it can't be beat. Frankly, it's one of the only movies we've watched on this thing that I don't have a problem with the third act, or I don't have a problem with the second. I don't have a problem at all. Well, it doesn't seem, the ending doesn't seem cheap in this movie because this movie has had a nasty spirit all the way along.
Exactly.
This evil will always win in this movie.